Vacant land financing is extremely difficult for some lenders, but not FNBA.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Brown. I'm a loan officer at First National Bank of America. And one of our specialties here at the bank is unique properties. And this month we're going to focus on vacant land. A vacant land loan is simply just a loan to purchase vacant land.
It's actually pretty similar to getting a regular mortgage on a dwelling, it's like a primary purchase. Just the term is usually a little bit shorter. So we do it on a 20-year mortgage instead of a 30-year. And we also require a little bit more money down because it's vacant land. So it's really just the same as a traditional mortgage, how we set the loan up, how we do the financing, and just terms are a little bit different because it's such a unique property type.
There's different types of land loans. There's raw land, there's unimproved land, and there's improved land. And they're all a little bit different. Raw land, no humans have touched it. We don't know if there's access to the road. We don't know if there's access to utilities. So those loans tend to be a little bit less expensive. Property taxes are a little less expensive because it hasn't been improved. And then on the other spectrum, there is improved land. And that's where the property is ready to be built upon. It's got access to the road, it's got utilities, and ready to build that home, your dream home on it. And then in the middle is unimproved land. And some people use it simultaneously with raw land, but it's a little bit different. Typically, we do know that there's utilities and access to the road, and it's been touched a little bit, so it's not as raw, but it's nowhere near ready to build a home on.
We finance large acreage properties too, so we don't have acreage restriction.
About 2 years ago, I did a vacant land loan in Texas, and it was 110 acres. And this man he said there was wildlife, it was beautiful, but it was also close to the city. So there was the shops and the restaurants and highways. And he had a 2- and 7-year-old, and he was going to pay off the land, and he was going to build their dream home on it. So 110 acres, yeah, no restriction.
We also finance agricultural land too, and income producing properties. So buildable lots, so anything that is outside of the realm of like Fannie and Freddie financing, because there might be income on that, or it's agricultural land, or there's a structure on it that has to be demolished. We will look at those properties and we will entertain that. As long as they have the down payment and they can, afford that 20-year payment, we can make it work.
Yeah, documentation is the same with our vacant land loan, just as it would be for a single family home, mobile home.
For income verification on our loan programs, we require a 1-year income documentation history, but a 2-year work history. So we're only going to verify documentation for 1 year.
Because we only use 1-year income, yes, those newly self-employed borrowers that may have only filed 1-year taxes, we can help.
It definitely helps a lot of people who are self-employed because they take the average between their last 2 years and we're only using the most recent year. So if you had a better year in 24 than you did in 23, your income's going to look great at FNBA. At the beginning stages of the process, it's a pre-qualification, right? So we have an initial conversation, we do an application over the phone, I do a soft inquiry on your credit, and then I send a document request over to the borrower so that they can send back documentation so I can get them a formal letter and they can put their offer in on that house.
We request a copy of photo ID, 2 most recent asset statements. We request any supporting documents for other real estate that you own. And of course, income verification, which could vary depending on what income program you're using.
Usually the pre-qualification process takes less than 2 business days. It's usually very quick. We verify everything up front. We really are like trying to up front make sure we are hitting our underwriting guidelines as loan officers, right? So that's pretty quick. We have assistants that help us get to that process in 2 days or less. And then the application process, like from when you get under contract to close, is under 30 days at FNBA. We are turning things around very quickly. And industry standard is usually about 35 to 45 days, and we are coming in below that, which is really excellent for a non-QM lender.
We have manual underwriters here. That's another perk of being a client of First National Bank of America. You're not just thrown into a system. You're not a number. We actually have physical people that review every file.
Our loan to value on a vacant land loan is 65%, which means 35% down. The other thing about our product is we do have a minimum loan amount requirement of $100,000 for land. We do approve loan amounts below $100,000 on a case-by-case basis. That's up to underwriting to determine. But we really want that land to be about $155,000 in value so we can meet that $100,000 loan amount. And so the down payment that we talked about initially, that has to be seasoned and sourced in your bank account. It cannot be gift funds of any sort for vacant land. It can't be cash on hand. You have to have that in the bank.
Our credit score requirement is 660.
And then we need, for cash outs, if you want to cash out some vacant land or refinance vacant land, we need a 680 credit score for that. And those are both via TransUnion. Land, because it's such a unique property type, you need a unique buyer for land, right? So a lot of lenders have huge restrictions on what they will do on land because they don't want to get that property back, right? So they'll stop somewhere, right? And FNBA is like, we can cross that line and we can offer a unique solution for people who really want these properties for, they might be wanting it for hunting, recreational properties, like they want to do camping on their lot, you know what I mean? And it's 97 acres. That's not going to stop us from doing that. So a lot of times with your traditional banks, they're capped on what they can do because of the type of land. When FNBA comes in and is like, you know what, we actually will entertain that type of land. We like that piece of land. The thing about First National is that we only do non-QM, which when you go to banks who do non-QM and they do USDA, VA, FHA, MISHDA, whatever the programs are, right? They have their hands in all these buckets, right? We have one bucket at FNBA. So we are different because we specialize in that bucket, right? So we're not trying to do 50,000 other loan programs. We just doing non-QM. So because you put everything into this niche, you become a professional who knows this industry inside and out for the uniqueness of these property types, of these borrowers, of any type of lending that is outside the Fannie and Freddie realm. We're doing it at First National, and that's all we're doing. We're not touching government financing. We're not touching all these other programs. So when you specialize in that, you get to be the best at it because you're not doing anything else.
This was an interesting one. My client and his wife have 26 acres and it's right on the water and it's beautiful. They have a private note on it, and what they wanted to do is refinance the private note and get cash out to make more improvements to the property. They're going to put some infrastructures on there and possibly do a little bit more clearing, add to the dock. And what was cool about this property is that he does oyster farming. So he wants to get, he wants to build sheds and he wants to get supplies and he wants to do oyster farming. It's his little hobby farm. And so it was very exciting to help him get some cash out, pay off the private lender that was a little stress for him to pay off, and get him some cash out to work on his property.
I feel like a lot of people want to finance really low loan amounts for vacant land. Like I found a $15,000 piece of land, like most lenders have a minimum loan amount that they're gonna do, and they're not gonna do land that low, right? So you'd have to find personal financing, possibly do different things for low loan amounts of vacant land because it's just not enough to finance through a bank. So that's a misconception, is that I can finance a $15,000 piece of land. No, that's more of a personal loan type of thing, or you could pull equity out of the house you currently own to buy it with cash. Those would be the things that you could do to make that happen, but we couldn't finance that piece of land. Another misconception I feel people have is that they are going to be able to get a construction loan with a vacant land loan, but those are separate entities, right? So it's usually you have to do the vacant land loan first and then the construction loan. So, but there's options out there. There's tons of lenders doing construction loans in all 50 states to get you onto that next point of where you want to build, right? So a lot of people think they go hand in hand, the vacant land and the construction loan, but they're separate entities completely. Another thing people think that on vacant land is nobody's going to finance it because it's vacant land. And that's not true. Call FNBA, find out what our requirements are. Find out what you can get financed to, or what we can finance you for vacant land, before you just shut down and say, there's nobody out there that's gonna do this. Somebody's gonna offer you lending. You just have to call around and find the right places, and definitely start with FNBA for your unique property types because we specialize in that. To get the process started, you can go to www.fnba.com/mortgage.